Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Glider with Indivisible of Greater Grand Rapids, and I'm here with Kris Pachla, a county commissioner for District 19, to talk about the role of county government and why it is more important than ever right now. Hi, Kris.
Hi, Mary. Thanks for having me here today.
Oh, delighted. So we're going to get jump right into this. So, Kris, can you give me a brief overview of where what is the role of county government?
Yeah, county government exists as a little bit of an in-between between city and local municipal governments, like those of townships, cities, villages, and the state level government like we have in Lansing. So county government has two buckets of services that we engage in. One are constitutionally mandated services. These are sort of catch-all services that cities don't provide always and townships don't provide always, but are necessary for the public good. So things like providing a sheriff's department to do road patrol in spaces where there aren't any police departments, providing a health department so that we can make sure that our citizens are healthy. Those are constitutionally mandated services. Other things in there include things like providing a court system and a prosecutor. And then there's discretionary services that we provide, which are things that we know are related to the public good and might not be offered by individual municipalities, but are beneficial for us to offer at the county level. Those are things like offering the Department of Public Works so that you can put your trash in your bin or your recycling in your bin and know that it goes somewhere other than just to poison our earth.
Awesome. And tell me, why is county government more important than ever right now?
Yeah, I'd say two things. One is, we sort of exist in a little bit of the background because we just sort of keep a lot of the other structures running that are going in terms of things like trash, in terms of things like the health department and the sheriff's department. But we also are very quiet in that space, right? We exist, and if we're doing our job best, we're doing them very quietly because we are doing those things that are keeping everything running. That said, county government relies heavily on state and federal funding. A portion of our operating revenue comes from local property taxes. A portion of it comes from fees for services, but a significant portion comes from state and federal taxes. And as we are seeing cuts coming down from the state or from the federal level and potentially from the state level, depending on what happens in Lansing, county governments won't change our mandated services. We will still be required to provide things like a sheriff's department, like a court system. And so we'll be picking up that slack because we know it's necessary to provide and we are constitutionally obligated to do it.
Awesome. Well, so when I think about county government, I think about, oh, those are the people who fix the roads, and that's where I go to get the license for my dog. Why do you think most people really don't have much? I don't want to say an interest in county government, but maybe they don't know that much about it.
Yeah, I mean, I alluded to it a little bit in my answer just a minute ago, but if county government's doing its job, we're sort of doing it in a way that's kind of quiet, right? There's a few consumer focused aspects of county government that most people would be familiar with and maybe just don't associate it with the county. Those are things like going to the clerk to register to vote, to get a marriage license, to get a birth certificate, those kinds of things. Those are all county services that are run by our county clerk and register of deeds. We also have a treasurer's department, but our treasurer doesn't directly collect your property taxes in most instances. Those property taxes go first to your municipality, so your city or your township or your village, and then we get a cut of that based on what the local millages are. So a lot of the work that happens at the county level sort of happens in tandem with other parts of government. And so folks have a lower number of times that they are going to actually directly interact with county government.
And why is it important that people know more about these county services and programs?
Yeah, I mean, the county is an interesting space in terms of how we actually pass policy. We pass policy mostly by allocating resources. We have very little authority to do ordinance work, to pass laws. The exception to that is on waste and trash. But so, as is often said in the space of budgeting, budgets are our values documents. And so when we think about where we value government existing and government doing work, the county is a prime example of directly connecting budgetary priorities to visioning priorities so we can identify what do we care about as a community. Um, the county, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, the county has an early childhood millage, but that early childhood millage is a very low amount of tax dollars coming in, with the purpose being to get students ready for kindergarten. If we know, objectively speaking, that more money in that space will serve more students, but we don't allocate more money to that because we as a body have decided on what the millage rate that was going to the voters was going to be. And that was in line with the majority's value associated with that millage rate. So it's really important that folks identify whether the budget priorities that we set forth as the county are aligning with what you have as your community priorities. And in some instances, it's not.
So it makes it really important for people to get out there and vote, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about some of the really, what you think are really interesting, very good services that people may not know about that they should definitely be taken advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just mentioned it just a minute ago, but Kent County is one of only a handful of counties in the state that actually has a county-wide early childhood millage. Now, early childhood millage is a county-wide service that is run by our partner, First Steps Kent. They receive the dollars that we receive at the county level, and they then turn those dollars around and turn them into programs and services for our early childhood education benefit. Now, this millage is not paying for daycare or preschool. It's not paying for butts and seats, as we call it. What instead it's doing is it's providing intervention services for families that might not have access to things like lead screening or special education screening or vision screening or hearing screening. What it's doing is it's funding play groups for our early childhood education spaces so that if you're a parent that has a young child at home and you're spending all day every day with them, you know that you can go to a play group and you can identify other parents and other kids for your kids to play with and experts that are going to be there to help answer questions. We that millage pays for something called the Ages and Stages Questionnaire, the ASQ, which helps you as a parent answer questions about the progress of your child to know, is everything that my child is doing a typical thing? Or might there be something that's atypical that I want to get some recommendations on or some guidance on? Every year, the county brings in money for that and then convenes a group of individuals to assess the grants that are applied for and then to send those dollars out to our community for the impact that it's making. That millage is serving over 10,000 students in the county, and you can learn more by going to the First Steps Kent website on that, or by contacting partnerships with GRCC's Play and Learn, or most pediatricians in the area have connections into that millage.
No, that sounds awesome. Tell me about another one.
Yeah, so we have a really, really innovative Department of Public Works here in the county. And our Department of Public Works operates a landfill down in the south by the Allegan County border. It operates the Recycling and Education Center, which exists on Wealthy Ave in downtown Grand Rapids. It operates the waste to energy facility, or what we call the incinerator, over on Market Avenue by the wastewater treatment plant. And it operates a transfer station up north in Rockford, where individuals and trash haulers, waste haulers, can drop off trash in the northern part of the county. We also maintain three closed landfills, which we are obligated to do as a municipality that has closed landfills to make sure that we're monitoring for things like PFAS and methane so that we're not harming our community. Kent County is one of the communities in the state that has all of those services available and really operates them as a system. That means that when you drop something off at the North Kent transfer station, like some recycling, which you can drop off for free as a resident of Kent County, it then gets transferred down to our recycling center and actually gets monetized so that we can reduce costs elsewhere in the system. So that you know that when you're recycling something here in Kent County, it actually is getting recycled because we have market vendor relationships for every single thing that comes into the Recycling and Education Center. We've all heard stories of places that you drop off your recycling and it just gets dumped right into the trash bin and then buried in the ground. We don't do that here in Kent County. We actually send everything that comes into our doors, provided that it's high enough quality, right? It's not mixed in with other trash or something that contaminates it. We actually send it back to market so that our consumers know that their stuff is actually being recycled. We have all sorts of great things that are happening with the Department of Public Works. One of the new initiatives that I'm really excited about is that we actually have a styrofoam densifier. So the big packaging styrofoam, I should have brought it as a prop. I've got some upstairs that I'm saving, but that big packaging styrofoam that you get when you order something from Amazon or somewhere else, it's not recyclable in a standard recycling facility. It's too light, it sort of bounces around, and it's because it's not dense you can't do anything with it. So we actually compact it down. We got a grant from the state of Michigan and compact it down and we send it off to another market vendor. So these are all things that everybody should be aware of that we're doing here in the county. We're looking for ways that we can expand the work on composting, on organic materials handling, on separating out our recycling from mixed waste. We have a lot of really exciting opportunities coming up for our Department of Public Works.
Well, I went over to the recycling center on 10 Mile Road, and I was just so excited to see that you were taking white styrofoam.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's got to be clean and it's got to be, white styrofoam, but it's fantastic because folks save this stuff and what I have typically done in the past is I just sort of shove it into a trash bag and then I end up throwing it away, right? But it burns really hot. It sort of impacts our incinerator system. And if you don't put it in a trash bag, it just flies away, right? I mean, I've been
Right.
driving behind a trash truck where pieces of styrofoam are just flying out and we can do better and we are doing better here in the county. In fact, our recycling and education center offers free tours to the community and you can see exactly the materials that are being handled there. And you can get a tour of all of the automated systems that we use in order to make sure that we're recycling everything that we can.
Awesome. So I want to ask you about, I saw a press release last week about the Kent County Community Action, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Could you tell us a little bit about that program? And then I'd like to get your thoughts on the proposed cuts to that
Yeah,
program.
absolutely. So KCCA is our community's action, or is the Kent County Community Action Department. They are a department of the county, but they operate with our community's support and for the benefit of our community. KCCA does a whole host of things, but they can generally be grouped into categories like helping individuals in our communities that need a little bit of extra help. So these are things like KCCA supports and engages Meals on Wheels and our senior citizen food sources. KCCA works on weatherization of our low income housing that exists so that if you have windows that are, single pane from the 1920s, as many of our houses in 49507 have, or if you have no insulation in your household, or if you need to install an efficient water heater or an efficient, air conditioning system, there are programs that individuals can tap into that use federal dollars from the Housing and Urban Development funds at the federal level, which are then passed down to our community through a variety of programs. The Community Block Development Grant is one of them. There's a program with the acronym called HOMES, HOMES, that are all intended to infuse dollars to spaces that don't have the working capital to make those investments, but result in lower community costs and result in lower individual costs as we go through. KCCA is under attack from the federal level because, as we've seen, there is lots of threat of decreasing the housing and urban development funds that come out, in particular, the fiscal year 2026 budget from the Trump administration, which fiscal years are kind of wonky because fiscal years are numbered based on the year that they end in, not the year that they start in. So the FY26 budget at the federal level starts October 1st of 2025 and goes through until September 30th of 2025 or 2026. That budget has huge cuts to the CDBG grants, to the build program, to the homes program, all of those baked right in. They are, they are shown to be at the federal level valued like waste, fraud, and abuse, which of course we know locally they're not. These are life-changing dollars for our community members that can't afford to make these these investments in their homes. We know that if the budget goes through, that there's going to be huge impacts in our community, not just from those individuals that wouldn't be able to receive those investment dollars and do things like winterize their home and not have blowing air coming through their 1920s single pane window, but there'll also be impact for all the rest of us too, as those preventative services are cut. We then have to think about reactive services. And reactive services, like going to the emergency room or going to urgent care, they always cost more than preventative services. And the same is true whether we're talking about healthcare or we're talking about infrastructure. If we can take the time to invest in something like replacing a potentially failing lead pipe, and
Mm.
shift it from potentially failing as a piece of infrastructure. Now we're paying hundreds of dollars to do that instead of thousands of dollars to fix a broken water main and then to mitigate the disaster that comes afterwards in terms of flooding or remediation or anything like that. So these preventative dollars are preventing not just the infrastructure costs that increase as we have emergency services, but it also prevents individuals from being in unsafe conditions. It prevents individuals that can't afford to heat their home from not being able to heat their home and then having to go to the hospital for frostbite or having issues in the summertime where they are overheating themselves, right? Those are all things that as a community we benefit from, even if we don't financially receive the dollars directly.
Yeah, so that's something that I think people forget is, I think they look at these programs when they say, "Oh, well, those are just for poor people. That doesn't have any effect on me." But it sounds like what you're telling me is that these cuts are going to impact pretty much all of the residents of Kent County.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I would liken it to the Medicare cuts, right? Where we are identifying that the
Mhm.
increased healthcare costs from folks not being able to afford medical care through Medicare are going to be passed along to the rest of us, either by hospitals closing down because we're not going to be able to, have them actually pay for the services that are being rendered, or by us having issues with, having to have much more reactive care than preventative care.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. Why don't you tell me about one more program?
Yeah, so the final one I wanted to highlight, we have a tremendous park system in the county that is run by the county. So if anybody's ever been to Millennium Park out in Walker, that's a county-owned park and a county-run park. And we have, a couple dozen parks throughout the county that are really just beautiful aspects of our county facilities that encourage everybody to get out and enjoy the wonderful nature that is Kent County. Um, Run by our Parks Department, really interconnected in with the communities that they're in. Um, we do everything from having a splash pad and a beach where you can rent kayaks and paddle boards at Millennium Park. We have a golf course that we run out in the Walker and West Grand Rapids area. We have hiking trails and, waterways that are all available. One of the things that we do quite often is we look for how we can actually expand parks using small infusions of dollars as sales come up in order to create preserved green space for our communities now and for years to come. One of the big projects that the Parks is working on is the Grand River Greenway project. And the
Mm.
vision of this project is that we will have a space to ride, run, roll, whatever you want to do along the Grand River that starts way out in Lowell and goes all the way out to Lake Michigan. We have aspects of this Grand River Greenway that are already put in place. We have aspects that are visioned as needing to have infusions of cash that the Parks Department would engage with. The Grand River Greenway is also part of the project that's looking at downtown. As we look at the amphitheater and the revitalization of the riverbanks of Grand Rapids, we have awesome opportunity to really create an interconnected pathway for everybody to get around on, that doesn't rely on cars, that doesn't rely on, our absent public transportation for everywhere except for the rapid zone, and gives folks an opportunity to enjoy the beauty that is the Grand River that not everybody gets to access easily right now, right? I mean, you can't access the Grand River unless you have a boat that you can get in at places like Riverside Park, or you live on the Grand River, right? And it's not a generally publicly accessible space just because we haven't built up those opportunities.
When will that be done?
Well, we're still building the capital stack for it. I think we're down to about $15 million shy of nearly $100 million project. So it's being built in bits and pieces because essentially what it is just a whole bunch of interconnected trails.
Oh,
But we're eyeing that to continue going forward so that it's done, hopefully the next few years.
awesome. That sounds exciting. So, how does the county determine like what services you're going to offer to the residents? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, I mean, there's really two ways. One is, as a county, we're always listening to constituents, both the elected officials at the county and also our county staff. We have over 40 departments in the county that are all sort of working in and around our community, and so we listen to where those gaps are and where those opportunities are. And oftentimes we'll be brought a suggestion with a funding opportunity at the county commission level, and we'll have those suggestions to vote on at the county level. The other is, I mentioned that the budget is our values document, and we also identify opportunities for new programs and services through our budgeting process. We, for instance, this year are getting ready to vote in August on a budget which includes a new position for our brownfield rehabilitation, our brownfield authority, which is an opportunity for us to use tax dollars to incentivize things like affordable housing. The county set up our own brownfield authority last year when I was on the county commission, but now we are um, proposing to hire a person to be our permanent brownfield authority staff member. And really, what that does is it provides us at the county an opportunity to make sure that this program is being offered, because now it's not just a statement that it exists, but it's also staff time that we are dedicating to do it so that municipalities that haven't set up their own brownfield can still take advantage of this great public funding tool.
Oh, that's great. Great. Well, I thank you for spending some time with us today and talking about the county, the role that it plays, some of the really cool programs that the county offers to its residents. I'd like to take this discussion to the next level at another time and would be interested in seeing if you'd be willing to maybe do a webinar for our membership sometime, maybe next month.
Yeah, I think that would be a fantastic opportunity to showcase the great work that happens at Kent County.
All right, great. Okay, well, awesome. Thank you. So everyone I would just suggest we'll get this planned. Keep an eye on this page for further information about putting together a webinar on a deeper dive into this program, these programs and services, and maybe some other ones that you haven't even told us about yet. So what I'd like to just say is, keep an eye on our page. If you don't subscribe to our Substack newsletter, we always post all of our events there. You can go to substack.com and just search on Indivisible GGR and sign up for that newsletter. So thanks again, Kris.
Yeah, my pleasure, Mary.
All right.
All right. The Kent County Community Action is the hub of development for low and middle income houses in Kent County. Kent County Community Action, or KCCA, invests in the infrastructure needed to make sure that everybody has the same kinds of opportunities here in Kent County. This means things like investing in weatherization for our low-income homes that might need things like new windows or weatherization or winterization and insulation. It also means helping with food insecurity and utility assistance when maybe you have a missed payment because you're in between jobs, or you have a missed payment because you had an unexpected large expense. KCCA receives most of its funding from the Federal Housing and Urban Development Department, and it is direct pass through to our local community, investing millions of dollars directly back into our community.
Thank you, Commissioner Pachla, for sharing the Community Action Program with us. To learn more about this program and other great programs and services that the county offers, join us for a deep dive webinar on Thursday, August 28th. Watch this space for more details.
Kent County's Department of Public Works is one of the premier Department of Public Works in the state by really actively reducing the amount that we're landfilling through a few methods. The first and biggest one is that we actually recycle everything that comes through our recycling center, from plastic to glass to cardboard. Everything that makes it to that recycling center gets sent back to the market with one of our many vendor relationships, but only 25% of our county actually recycles. And so we at the county are really focused on how do we increase those recycle rates by providing opportunities for individuals to drop off locally, by providing opportunities for you to put all of your trash together and sorting those things out. We are committed to reducing the landfilling that we're doing in our county, which long term creates unusable land and poisons our earth through things like PFAS and methane as it creeps into our groundwater.
Thank you, Kris. To learn more about Kent County's recycling programs and other green infrastructure types of events, plan on attending our Indivisible webinar on Thursday, August 28th. Watch this space for more information.
Kent County is one of a few counties in the state of Michigan that actively uses dollars collected through a tax millage to support our earliest learners to make sure that they're ready for kindergarten by age 5. We do that through the early childhood millage, which is administered by First Steps Kent, which provides services to individuals around the county in every zip code around Kent County, such as lead remediation and screening, such as vision and hearing screening, and such as playgroups for families that don't have access to a friend or family close by to play with. We use these services and collect the data to show that really these kinds of activities for students are improving their readiness for kindergarten through things like the ages and stages questionnaire, so that you as a parent can make sure that you feel comfortable with the progression of your student and child before they enter kindergarten. Kent County is really innovative in the space, and so we're really excited to see where this goes.
Thank you, Kris, for giving us a little insight into the early childhood programs. To learn more about this program and other really exciting programs and services from the Kent County government, join us for our Indivisible webinar on Thursday, August 28th. Watch this page for more details.
Kent County has 43 premier parks throughout the county that provide every resident in every area the opportunity to get outside and enjoy what we have to offer in terms of natural beauty in Kent County. Whether it's our premier park at Millennium Park, which includes a splash pad, playgrounds, picnic shelters, and a beach, or whether it's the trails up north in the northern parts of our county, there's something for everybody that allows you to get out and enjoy nature and really spend some time in the green space. One of the really exciting projects that the Kent County Parks Department is engaging in is to champion the Grand River Greenway, which will be a riverside connection all the way from Lowell out to the Lake Michigan, so that everybody can access the beauty that is the Grand River, regardless of whether you have access to a boat or live on the river. Kent County Parks just really provide an opportunity for everybody to get outside and enjoy nature.
Thank you, Commissioner Pachla, for telling us about the Kent County Parks and the Greenway Project. It sounds really exciting. To learn more about this program and other Kent County programs and services, join us for our Indivisible webinar on Thursday, August 28th.